over the past 20 years now, if we kind of count on Iger's supposed exit in about 2 years, around 2025, he spent about half that time with one foot either out the door or back in the door. And there's a cost to that, right? If you're a talented executive at Disney who's been thinking maybe you have a chance to move up based on what Iger says he's going to do, you've had so many false starts. Disney's lost a lot of talent because of Iger either deciding not to leave or then picking Chapek in the first place. And now he's coming back and, you know, somebody who's a great option isn't ready yet. He had more than a decade to prepare the next generation of leaders. So why do you, I mean, granted, yes, he's an excellent executive, one of the best ever, if not the best ever at a media company, arguably. But why do you pick somebody who's really bad at succession to come in for just 2 years and do your succession for you? Is the board abdicating its own responsibility?
I think he's going to, well, the boards are panicking now because of the economic issues. But, you know, I think he knows that. I think he knows that was a big mistake of his, of a pretty stellar career at Disney, is to not have done the succession correctly. And I think he probably will this time do it correctly and figure out the best way. It's one thing he left behind that wasn't great about Bob Iger. And so I suspect he's going to be focused on that. He's got to be. I think he of course moved them into streaming, which is very expensive. I think no one realized how expensive it was going to be, and this was going to be, and how big a fight this is. But if you're not in this, you're not in a media company if you don't understand that streaming is critical to the future. I think he is much more talent friendly. You can't just treat talent the way they did. It's critical for this company. And then lastly, I think it's really important that investors are calm by him. There's a lot of activist investors running around here, and he is someone who, compared to Bob Chapek, can handle them better. And then let me do lastly, Bob Chapek just had one disaster after the next, and this last earnings call was really, I was sort of shocked by it myself, and it wasn't tenable for him to continue to run. He had lost employees, he had lost investors, he had lost, you know, everyone that was critical in this particular company.
But this is really the last time you can have Bob Iger behind the glass, right? And in case of emergency, break glass. It's
I don't know.
It's always Bob.
All over.
It's always Bob Iger.
Steve,
like, oh, we're going into COVID, so we got to keep Iger. Now we're coming out of COVID. And yeah, I'm just saying. But he's really got to go this time after 2 years, right?
Yes. No. I mean, come on. All kinds of companies do this. Howard Schultz at Starbucks. Steve Jobs came back and left and came back. You know, this is like not a new and fresh thing. He's got to find his Tim Cook, I guess, in a lot of ways, and find someone who really has the operational skills from a business point of view and has good relationships with content. And that might be Dana Walden. It might be a lot of people. It's a very difficult time to run a media company. And even a really good company like Disney is going to see trouble in this environment. There could be some really interesting things happening, and very few people could pull it off. The big things they need to do, like someone who's been here and knows the company inside and out.
So, Kara, I'm not disputing that content is king, is absolutely critical at Disney.
You kind of did, but okay.
Well, I'm saying that how is he better at managing the finance side, any better than Chapek is? And that's the reason Chapek is out after that horrible quarter. Some of the creative stuff he did as well, as you just outlined. Yeah. So how is Iger going to come in and fix this? As you said, he moved them into streaming, which was absolutely critical. But how do you fix the finances there? So many are having trouble with this.
Well, compared to Chapek, I could run the finances better at Disney than Chapek. I mean, the kind of things he did, that call was really unprofessional, I thought. And, you know, he's getting out with lots of money, so it's fine for him. But, you know, I think this to calm investors is really critical. There are activists around that are very serious. And so that's what said that you need someone who has experience and is trusted by Wall Street. At least will get a little bit of breathing room here. This is a huge debt they have, not the kind of debt that Warner Disney has, and they can certainly handle it better. And they've got lots more revenue streams, including the parks, which have been doing very well. Again, Bob Chapek insulted annual park goers. Like, I don't know why you'd do that. And so, you know, he can handle the finances here. He's not considered a crazy spendthrift, and he's the one that put in place a lot of the changes to talent compensation that the talent has been complaining about. But, you know, we'll see. I've always found it to be someone who's willing to change, and he's also so likable. And I know that's not a small thing in these kind of companies. But I think, you know, you saw content people being very happy today, and that's, again, he's got to have a lot of constituencies. he pleases, and he's good at pleasing all of them, and he certainly can handle the finances.